Hello, I'm Peter Charleston. I'm a psychologist based in Melbourne, Australia, and I run an online performance coaching program called Thrive. Today, for the next few minutes, I'd like to talk to you about my experiences with high achievers and why they seem to be so unhappy. I'm going to share with you some slides and give you my ideas on this topic. So as I said, I run a program called Thrive, which is a performance coaching program online. Let's talk about high achievers, why they're so unhappy. Here are a couple of reasons that have to do with a dysfunctional psychology, or in other words, the way you're programmed sometimes gets in the way of the way you perform at anything. Some of what I see, particularly with my clients, I have a lot of coaching clients who are in medicine, in law, in engineering, in the performing arts. Often when they're good at something, they take on way too much and spread themselves too thin. And as a result, they're more likely to make mistakes and perform less than at their peak. Within them, there seems to be a sense of nothing ever being good enough in terms of the outcomes they produce, but also with a lot of high achievers, they don't think they are enough because they haven't achieved enough in their mind. So there's something here about they're not meeting their own expectations. And my argument today is that their own expectations are way too high, and that when you're motivated by these things, and I call it motivated by fear of not being good enough, that's not ideal, because like I say on this slide, it creates a lot of stress, more conflict, rush decisions, and all sorts of other symptoms that can actually be prevented with a better psychology. So these people tend to strive and are determined to do better and better, but then they never seem to be satisfied. So what I'm talking about here is when someone achieves a lot, but still feels insecure. And often this goes hand in hand with perfection, but not always. Some of the unhealthy habits I'm talking about here are, they tend to come in extremes. Some of the signs are quite extreme in terms of all or nothing behavior, for instance, that when they work hard, they work really hard. They pour a lot of energy into the task. They're either going really hard or they've stopped altogether, and that's where the procrastination kicks in. So that's what I mean by all or nothing behavior. There tends also to be all or nothing thinking. Either I'm doing really well or I'm an absolute loser. There doesn't seem to be anything in the middle. So this paralyzes decision-making. It makes people into sometimes workaholics. Sometimes that people are so busy that when they do crash and rest, that also can become extreme. So these are the people typically who go on a holiday and spend most of the holiday time recovering from the pace they've been at during the last few months or year. So have a think about what type of symptoms this is creating in you. This creates a lot of anxiety, stress, sometimes other addictive behaviors, eating disorders, relationship problems, and there's a lot of negative self-talk that goes along with not meeting your expectations and feeling not good enough. So in other words, the reality doesn't actually match the subjectivity in your mind. I'll come back to that in a minute. There are some benefits of remaining like this in terms of sometimes actually feeling superior to other people, even though you feel insecure inside. You do also accomplish a lot, even with this busyness and stress and high expectations. So These behaviors can help you succeed, but there's a big price to pay, is my argument. And high achievers do tend to be structured, orderly people. They get things done well, good at time management, but sometimes there's just too much control in the way they've structured their life. Perfectionism is bad in terms of the high expectations you set yourself that you never reach, because it links to your self-worth. If you think your value to this world is based on the outcomes you get, and the expectations you have are a perfect outcome, then you set yourself up to never feel good enough. That's what I mean by dysfunctional psychology. That's the stuff we talk about in our Thrive program, helping you reprogram your mind, but also recalibrate your life. Why this is bad for other people in terms of your habits, if you see yourself in what I'm describing, actually distances you from other people. No one likes a know-it-all, for instance, or someone who seems to be perfect, or who doesn't admit their flaws, or who is way too competitive because they're trying to be the best at something. That makes it very difficult for those around you, because it's just, it's almost like you're pretending not to be human, and people can't relate to that. People perceive you as too controlling and withdrawing personal things about you, particularly weaknesses or flaws. So it's actually hard to connect emotionally with people who are so stuck in this mindset. How do you free yourself from perfection? Well, there's a quote here that I think is relevant. If nobody ever said anything unless he knew what he was talking about, a ghastly hush would descend upon the earth. Think about that for a minute. What would you attempt to do if you know you couldn't fail at something? Imagine having the freedom to have a go at something, knowing that it would be okay, whatever the outcome. So a lot of people don't try their best at something because they're so afraid of failure. But then they hold back and only give 80% or 70% of their effort, which literally describes what self-sabotage is. So that's an example of how, when you're motivated by fear, it doesn't actually bring out the best in you. What's the solution? Well, we can reprogram your psychology, and that includes having a much better acceptance of self, acceptance of your strengths and weaknesses, acceptance that you have flaws, but also acceptance that your best is actually enough. So part of the reprogramming is getting you to feel like you're already complete and whole before you've even achieved what you want to achieve. As a result, you're more motivated by positive things rather than fear. You're inspired to do well at something rather than pressured to do well because your whole self-worth is relying on it. That's what I mean by releasing the pressure. Challenging those fears, turning your motivation around, and that reduces competitiveness. So self-acceptance is also about valuing the skills you have and building on them, but also celebrating achievements, because that's the sort of thing that keeps improving your self-worth over time, rather than relying on the perfect outcome to improve your self-worth. You're improving it bit by bit over time as you acknowledge the progress you're making. So it's about enjoying and celebrating the process of achievement and the progress you make, rather than I have to be the best at, or I have to reach this goal, which is dangerous psychologically. So that's a summary of what achieving satisfaction looks like. You still strive to do better, but your whole worth isn't relying on that outcome. You believe that your best is enough to achieve what you want to achieve. You enjoy the process more when there's the less pressure on you. And you have a little more fun when you surrender that control that perfectionists tend to have. I hope you got something out of that small snippet of what we cover in the Thrive programming. Here, this slide gives you a little bit more information about what Thrive is all about. There are 6 fundamental themes of Thrive on this slide, and there are around 10 topics per theme that we offer in the program. The program is a subscription service, so you get access to all of the topics anytime you like. You can go at this at your own pace. And what I mean by topics is that each topic within these 6 themes has a webinar and a reflective workbook attached to the topic, where you go through a set of information, hints and tips, and reflective exercises. And we also have regular live coaching sessions where we go deeper into each of the topics. But these 6 fundamentals are self-awareness, life planning, building mental skills, building emotional skills, building behavioral skills, and building interpersonal skills. And that is my definition of what your psychology is. As you build your psychology, you not only gain inner strength, but you also gain strength in terms of your own behavior and decision-making and relationships. That's the key to success, strengthening your psychology. So my coaching process goes through these in step-by-step form, where we help you reprogram your mind, changing your attitudes and behaviors so they actually help you rather than get in the way of achieving your goals, so that you experience far more happiness and enjoyment as you strive to reach your potential, whichever way you define that. As I mentioned earlier, the Thrive program is about webinars, workbooks. We have a bunch of content online that you can access anytime. We have group coaching sessions and a large community support network where people can help each other out and learn from each other's experiences. So I hope you got something out of today's topic, and I hope to see you sometime at Thrive as well. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.